I'm going to ask David Rodgers to come forward. He was last year's distinguished alumnus, and he'll be introducing Mr. JC Colton, the 2024 Alumnus of the Year. And in a moment, we're going to hand JC the microphone. Because of mobility, he's going to give his acceptance right there at the table. But I did tell JC, don't get too comfortable there, JC, because I told him 5 to 7 minutes. And you could sit there and really spin a yarn. But I want to thank Mr. David Rodgers for introducing JC Colton. David, come on up.
Thanks. It's truly an honor to introduce our Alumnus of the Year, JC Colton. I first met JC over 50 years ago when I was representing Weatherford High School as a voting delegate at a district FFA meeting where officer elections were being held. A very serious young man ambled across the stage to a podium and began his speech. Now, there have been many memorable speeches in the history of the United States. There's Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, Ronald Reagan, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. But they were all great speeches, of course. But the speech I heard that day ranks right up there with them. It's the famous JC Colton beer can speech. JC convinced us all that if it weren't for FFA, he would probably be sitting in his pickup in a parking lot in Aledo, Texas, with a beer can in his hand. JC won that election in a landslide. And he ultimately became Texas FFA vice president, which is a big deal if you weren't involved in FFA. He was one of 10 state officers leading 50,000 Texas FFA members. JC's been a leader of people, particularly young people, ever since then. He's lived up to the FFA motto, which is learning to do, doing to learn, earning to live, and living to serve. He learned to do by getting a great education, first here at Weatherford College, and then at Texas A&M University. JC graduated cum laude from A&M, and while being extremely active in numerous student organizations and activities also, he became the first transfer student ever elected to campus-wide office at Texas A&M. You usually have to be a freshman. They don't like people that frogged in. And he became student body vice president of academic affairs. And that's just one of his many leadership roles and awards at A&M. JC stayed at A&M long enough to earn a Master's of Education degree, and then he got his first full-time job. He was a vocational agriculture teacher at Poolville High School. JC only had that job for 1 year because he got the job offer he couldn't refuse. He came back home to become an agriculture instructor at Weatherford College. JC recently retired after 43 years of stellar service here at Weatherford College. His success as an instructor is evidenced by the fact he was named WC Faculty Member of the Year 1983-84. After 7 years in the classroom, JC moved to administrative staff and served in a variety of posts: Director of Institutional Research, Director of Student Development, Dean of Student Development, Associate Dean of Instruction for Mineral Wells Education Center, Associate Dean of Judicial Affairs. JC was recognized for his administrative efforts by being named Staff Member of the Year 1990-1991. And to this date, JC is the only employee of Weatherford College to have ever received Member of the Year for both faculty and staff positions. During his Weatherford College career, JC, he found time to be involved in many community and professional activities. Can't list them all, but some of them are Palapena County Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 2, Palapena County Hospital District, Parker County Peach Festival, Jack Harvey Academy of Exemplary Teachers, Dr. Denny Richardson Award of Counseling Excellence. For about 20 years, JC was the producer, host, voice of Live from Parker County Livestock Show, which was on the local radio station, where he interviewed hundreds of kids at the stock show who were very excited to talk about their projects, including both of my daughters. He was a livestock show announcer at the Fort Worth Livestock Show for 8 years. He volunteered to judge countless local, area, and state youth contests throughout the years, all over the state, all volunteer, never got paid for any of it. In addition to all that, he and his wife of 37 years, Margaret, raised a son, 2 daughters, and are now the proud grandparents to two grandchildren. JC's been a positive influence on thousands of people during his career. And to close, I'd like to read from a couple of the many recommendations that were received nominating JC for this award. I think a couple of them, point out why we like JC so much. The first one is from a fellow student of mine and JC's that wrote, JC's aim as an educator was to help students make the preparations necessary to reach their full potential. He made an impact in the academic lives of so many students. I can state this from personal experience, as he advised my children many years ago, and more recently helped my granddaughter, a current student thriving at Weatherford College, develop her academic plan to reach her goals. The next one was from a fellow Weatherford College employee of several years ago. In addition to his official titles and roles, JC was always a favorite of the college students and the people who worked alongside him. The amount of time he spent during his career helping others be successful cannot be measured. I can speak firsthand to JC's commitment to serve those around him. As a new administrator at the college in 1991, JC personally assisted me with numerous tasks, none of which were his responsibility, to make me, not him, more effective as a member of the college team. And that's just a couple of many letters that came in about JC. And bottom line, I think we can all agree that JC has lived up to that last line of the FFA motto, living to serve, and is most deserving of the Alumnus of the Year award this year.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a wonderful day, and not for JC Colton. I'm going to kind of follow along with the comments of Judge Martin, and I'm going to talk about some heroes that are in this room and who have been here before, because that's the story of Weatherford College. But first, I want to tell you a few personal touches that I feel proud to be a part of. This podium right here, we call the Jim Boyd podium. And Lynn Bearden had a big part in getting that thing designed and built. And when Dr. Boyd was here, he wanted something that looked nice for our ceremony, so that was built. And guess who he called, usually because at the last moment, somebody had forgotten to take the podium to a certain ceremony, whether it was on this campus or in Wise County or Granbury. Guess who he called? I haul that podium all over this campus. Then Dr. Boyd decided, we need some good ceremonial stage dressing. And that's how we got the mace, and that's how we got the banner. He called Arlene Atkins and me into his office one day and says, I want a banner. I don't care how y'all do it, but give me a banner. So we went out, and Arlene found a place to do the silk screening on the seal, and I had to find a place that would build a banner. Well, in case you don't know it, there's not a lot of places that build academic banners in Parker County, Texas. I finally found some friends who did saddle blankets and rope bags and other things like that. And I said, how would you like to take on a special project? I said, sure, we're game, we'll try anything. So I took them the design that Dr. Boyd had in mind, and they looked it over, spent about 2 weeks, and that is the banner you see over there. Now, unfortunately, they couldn't do the staff. I built the staff. That is the official JC Colton staff attached to the WC banner. But I'm very proud that those are here. Dr. Valeda, thank you for being here, ma'am. She got my daughter through freshman English at Tarleton State University, so I have a very strong feeling for the boys. I want to say thank you to my good friend David Rodgers. David was so kind to nominate me, and let me first say, I'm going to try to keep it 5-7 minutes, Brent, but keep an eye on the clock. Mark Tackett, my friend and fellow Weatherford College alumni, local compounding pharmacist in the back of the room. He has medications in case I go too long and you get drowsy. He will pass those out. But I want to say thank you to David Rodgers. David, bless his heart, how many times have I roped him into some harebrained scheme and he never turned me down? Never. Last year you heard about how I got him to ride his horse through traffic down by the courthouse with cars and trucks whizzing by him, putting his life at risk, but he did it like a trooper. I want to tell you another real quick story about him. We did a recreation of the Battle of San Jacinto, and it's right out here on the baseball field. You know, that used to be just a hay field that we harvested. And that's where we staged it at. And we had local schools come, Springtown came down, Weatherford came out. There were school kids scattered everywhere. And we had a narrator on a PA system who narrated our recreation of the Battle of San Jacinto. Well, when we put that together, remember this was in the 70s. And we had, you know, a lot of good old boys who rode horses, and David kind of commanded the cavalry. And we had foot soldiers, but nobody wanted to be the Mexican army. I don't know why. Nobody wanted to be the Mexican army. Well, we had at the time, again, going back in time, remember your history, the Ayatollah of rock and rolla. You know, Mr. Khomeini was still in exile in Paris, France. Reza Pahlavi was still the Shah of Iran. And he was sending his best and brightest to the United States to learn how to be engineers and doctors and all these professions to come back to Iran and boost up their society. And for some reason, they discovered Weatherford College. And they would come here for 2 years, goodbye on education for an international student, and then go over to UTA and UT Austin and Texas Tech and all the other universities to finish up and then go back home. We had a pretty good little group of Iranian students during David's and my time here. I think we had probably as many as 200 at one time. Well, anyhow, again, going back to the Battle of San Jacinto, we were having trouble constituting the Mexican army. So we had several friends among the Iranian students, and one day we said, hey guys, how would y'all like to be a part of a special festivity? And they said, yeah, we love that. What can we do? We said, you're going to attack the Texans in a famous historical battle here that we're going to create. You're going to be an army. And they loved it. So we got Bill Horde to be the commander. He was Santa Anna. Bill was 6'3", probably weighed 300 pounds, but he was Santa Anna, and he commanded the Mexican army, which was about 80 people from Iran. Now, we didn't have weapons, and they had to have something, so we gave them wooden swords. So we had a charge staged where the Iranians of Weatherford College charged the cowboys on horseback of Weatherford College. And I have to tell you, that particular day, the Mexican army almost won. But that's a favorite memory of mine. Before I go any further, let me thank the Board of Trustees, thank the administration, faculty and staff of Weatherford College of having this special day, and thank you for inviting me. I also shouldn't go too far along without thanking this lovely lady over here to my left, my lovely wife, the former Mayor Pro Tem of Mineral Wells, Texas, the president of the Our Lady of Lourdes Parish Council, and retired owner of Hill's Style Shop, a third-generation ladies ready to wear in beautiful downtown Mineral Wells, Margaret Hill Colton. A round of applause, please. And I blame the lady in the back of the room, Kathy Boswell, our Dean of Allied Health and all things health-related. She introduced my lovely wife to me, so I blame her for that. But in retirement, it's been great because we've learned new things. Margie has had to come up with skills to deal with being in retirement. And I've often said she should write a few letters to Hints with Heloise. Dear Heloise, when your husband's not quite as fresh, or maybe he's just a little neglectful of his hygiene, Febreze is a wonderful thing. Spray him once in the morning and spray him once in the afternoon, and he'll still be springtime fresh. Also, Heloise, when your husband sings along with YouTube music videos and the neighbors come over to see if somebody's killing cats or abusing animals, just tell him he's trying out for Senior America's Got Talent. So she's covered up for me a lot of years. I want to also recognize some other folks that are here in the room, but let me talk about some of my fellow Weatherford College students who went to A&M. We've got a lot of talent in this room. Jack DeShazo, former member of the Board of Trustees, Weatherford College, former member of the Texas Vocational Ag Teachers State Board of Directors, right here in the house. Skip Congable, retired tax appraisal specialist. Skip was an ag economics major when we all trekked down to A&M. Matter of fact, he worked in the Texas Real Estate Research Center, and some of the old timers in the room remember the Pivotal bill. There was a day where every political entity in Texas, every school board, every city government, every county government had their own appraiser. Can you imagine the Wild West that it was? Everybody had their own appraiser. Everybody had their own tax assessment system, their own tax collection. It was a wild, wild west. Finally, Texas wised up and said, no, we need a statewide system. Some kind of common sense approach so that all 254 counties in the great state of Texas were dealing in this business the same way. So Mr. Pivotal, who was an elected official from Orange, Texas, worked with the Texas Real Estate Research Center at A&M, where Skip did an internship, and they came up with the Pivotal bill, which established common tax appraisal across the state of Texas with the system of appeals so that everybody was playing from the same rule book. Seems like it's common sense, but I can promise you it was a big change in how we did business in Texas. And Skip Congible right here played a role in that. You know, I've got a special guest here at my table. When I was a young man in Alito, Texas, I kind of marched my own drummer. Uh-oh, are they coming to pull me off show? As I was saying, I kind of marched to my own drummer. Sometimes not to the best. Pretty good athlete. And of course, FFA was a big part of my life. Academics came pretty easily to me. And I'm going to admit some things here today that very few people in the room know. So just between you and me, don't share this. This is our secret. But when I was a senior at Alito High School, I kind of fell out with our senior English teacher. She had this major project that we all did a senior term paper. Well, I made 100 on every test, and I made A's on all my homework. But I decided I was not going to do that blankety-blank senior term paper. And I feel bad about it now, and I've apologized to her since. But anyhow, I didn't turn it in. And I failed Alito High School senior English. Yes, JC Colton failed senior English in high school. And I got called into the office by our principal. Skip doesn't even know this story. Dean Glenn. And Mr. Glenn, looked down his nose with his glasses at me. He said, JC, I'll have to say, you're the only student in the history of Alito High School that is a National Merit Commended Scholar that has ever failed senior English. What the heck is wrong with you, boy? And I said, I just don't want to do it. Well, needless to say, we agreed to disagree, but I had more credits than just about everybody in the senior class because I took extra science, extra math. So, hey, it all had a happy ending. And of course, I made A's in English at Weatherford College. But that's my dirty little secret, because I failed senior English at Alito High School. But a man who looked past that and who guided me and advised me, because FFA was a big part of my life, and I set a goal. I wanted to be an American farmer, the highest degree awarded by the FFA. For those of you in scouting, think of like an Eagle Scout. But American farmer was a big deal, and in the history of Alito High School, we had never had an American farmer. And I wanted it bad, and it took a lot of work. And there was a fella who took me under his wing and guided me and advised me and got me through the rough parts, got me through the good parts. And that was a gentleman by the name of Phil Bradford. And he's sitting right over here across the table from me. Phil Bradford, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely wife, Mary. You talk about lives touching lives. I was the first American farmer at Alito High School. In talking to Mr. Bradford, and about his time, he grew up here in the Weatherford area. His dad was the vice president at First National Bank for many years. Some of y'all may remember that. His brother, pharmacist. But Phil was the first American farmer at Weatherford High School. First American Farmer Weatherford High School, first American Farmer Aledo High School. So candles lighting candles. You know, it's been a great life. My time at Weatherford College, I lived through 10 U.S. presidents, 7 James Bond actors. I had the honor of serving 8 presidents of Weatherford College, Dr. Farmer being the last. So a lot of great people have been a part of my life. But, you know, I think back, as they said last year, as David said in his speech, the people of Weatherford College, the heroes, and I use heroes for men and women. I'm not going to say heroes and heroines, because if I start talking about heroin tomorrow in the paper, it's going to say JC Colton says heroin changed his life during ceremony. But heroes, the heroes of Weatherford College, people like Jim Boyd, Dr. E.W. Mintz, Bill Cody, Sue Cody, Janine Irby, Shirley Capel, Bill Sandlin, Sharon Beecham, Pat Cook, Richard Bowers, Max Rathel, Randall Anderson, Ruth Husey, Kathy Boswell, Nancy McVeigh, Marilyn St. Clair, Shirley Chenault, and the list goes on and on and on. Dwayne Durrett, sitting in the back of the room, he's probably had as many job titles as I had at my job. I think I tapped out at about 25 different job titles. He's probably about 28 or 30 right about now. But Dwayne Durrett, a good friend and also one of my mentors. But all of these people touching lives at Weatherford College who put us where we are today, and how lucky we were to have them in our lives. You know, I don't know how I made it this far, but heck, Keith Richards is still around, and so is Mick Jagger, so who can explain anything? But I've had a great life. Is he getting ready to get me? Let me go ahead and a couple of quick things. We've had interesting people here at Weatherford College. Pat Kirkwood, Cellar Club, used to have the Cellar Club taught English for us down in Granbury, Texas. One closing story I've got to get in. Just one. I'm walking down the hallway of Palapita General Hospital to get some scans done. Go in, they had me stripped down to my tighty-whities and my t-shirt. They run the scan, and I'm going back down to get an x-ray in a different room. When I came in, there was nobody in the waiting room. When I came out of the examination room, there's probably about 20 people out there, but they put that lovely hospital gown on me, so I'm marching down the hallway. And of course, I always ran into people that knew me from Weatherford College, everywhere I went. I'm walking down the hallway though, and I hear this voice behind me, "Mr. Colton, Mr. Colton." And I turned around, and it's one of our students who was studying nursing, and she wanted to talk about getting Janine Irby for freshman English. Class was full, she had to get into class, she had a work schedule, and I turned around and visited with her, and little did I stop to think my hospital gown, which was a size small, was kind of gapping. And remember that waiting room that was empty when I went back to be examined? It was now full. So I turned back around after counseling that student in the hallway of the hospital, and every person in that waiting room now had a newspaper magazine up in front of their face, and I could see shoulders just laughing, you know, like this. So I proudly tucked my clothes under my arm and marched down the hallway and saw folks I knew stop, shook hands. "Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Glad that you could come out today." And I've learned not to have any shame, but to carry the good message of Weatherford College everywhere I go. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And I am so proud to be a part of Weatherford College.